At their board meeting. I think you were prepared for it. What do they call it? Yeah. She's going on.
You gotta expect those.
Exactly. That's what we have looking at you.
Good morning. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on August 22nd, 2023 at 8 a.m. at the district's office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive, Friendswood, Texas. All the meeting in order. Invocation. Trustee.
Lord, thank you for this day, ability for all of us to get up here and conduct business in the city of Friendswood. Bless our citizens, our leaders, and all the rest of us do business in your name, our churches.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, citizens' comments. Members of the public are invited to give comments at this time, lasting no longer than 3 minutes. Anybody that'd like to address the board?
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Bonham's been going around and kind of giving a legislative update to everybody. And one of the pieces that he talks about is the money that was to be allocated by the state to help do some of the drainage projects here along Clear Creek. And I'm not sure everybody knows it, but the Dixie Farm Road project was a key element of that. Not that any money from the state is going to the Dixie Farm Road project, but they were able to package that up with the other projects and show that everybody was spending money, and that really helped out. So I know there are a lot of folks that were dubious about that project and, you know, whether it was worth the commitment or not, but it certainly has borne fruits for these other projects and helping to get funding for them. And so I wanted to thank the board for making that commitment. And I know it was tough getting the money up and getting that ready, but that has really worked out to the advantage of everybody in Friendswood. And that kind of, if you understand what's going on with the things that Dr. Bonnet's talking about, this legislative update, it makes a lot of sense. If you don't know what was going on with that, it's kind of a mystery how that happened. But, you know, certainly he doesn't sit up there and just write checks to his friends. That's not the way it works at all. And we had to prove that we had commitment from all the other governments around on both sides of the creek to get that money from the state. So thank you much.
Thank you, Doc. Anybody else that would like to address the directors? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to item 5A. Review and take action on the attachment 4 process. Do I hear motion? Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Discussion. Scott.
So just to kind of generalize the attachment 4 process, it's some interlocal agreement between the city and the drainage district. I think back in 2011 is when the original interlocal came about. And what it is to simplify the purchase of regional attention for basically single family residential developments, just one house at a time. It used to be 3.5 acres was the max size, but the board recently increased that to 5 acres. And what they do is they pay, now the rate is $1 a square foot per increase in impervious cover. Joseph takes note and marks it in the ledger, keeps track of it. There's been a proposal to add, in the past, since this was a simplified version, when developments happened along one of the district's facilities, we didn't require the drainage easement or right of way that our design criteria manual notes that we have dedicated for each development. There's been a proposal to change that, even if they use attachment 4, that the district at their expense will develop the survey and the exhibit and the body of the document. So that way you're getting your easements for those that are back, these single family residences that are backing up to, Cowers Creek, Clear Creek, Sugar Creek, those types of things, or other unnamed tributaries. I think that's the action item, right? Would be to approve the new version of it.
And the intent is, in my opinion, when you do the attachment 4, like Scott said, it's not necessary to give an easement along the creek. And this is earmarked at the properties when they do the attachment 4 adjacent to creek or tributary. In the past, we wouldn't get the easement we need. If they platted, we'd get it, but attachment 4, they don't have to plat. So I brought it up to Scott and the board, and we really need this to get contiguous easements along the creek. And that's the premise of it. And Joseph didn't think that we should burden the homeowner with surveying of it, and I agreed with him. We're trying to save them for a single family dwelling. So I think it sums it up well. And that's all I've got to say about it. If anybody's got any other comments. Got a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, show it be unanimous. Thank you. Item B, review and take action on purchasing an 8.5 by 25 power lift gooseneck trailer in the amount of $21,155. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Joseph, you want to explain why we're doing this?
Yeah, currently we have, it's a 21-foot tilt trailer, and it was bought back in the late 90s. And over time, use and stuff, it's already old real bad. And so the back axle, we done had to replace it one time because it's bent and it wearing the tires out in the back axle. So that's why we're replacing it with this. And this will be able to haul our skid steers and all of our smaller equipment and stuff.
What are we going to do with the existing one auction? Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Not to be unanimous. Item C, review and take action on purchasing a 7x14 bumper pull trailer in the amount of $7,030.25. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Got a motion, second. Joseph?
Again, this, we used to have our air compressor and stuff in the back of the trucks, but that compressor's so heavy, it was tearing up the bed of the back of the truck. So want to get a trailer and be able to mount the air compressor, our welding machine, and our cutting rig all on one trailer, where if we need it out in the field, we can pull it there and use it in whatever we need.
Any questions for Joseph? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, show it to be unanimous. Item D, discussion and review of GCCD's 2023-2024 budget. Do I hear a motion? Motion to discuss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion, second. You made the motion, go ahead.
Joseph, you want to lead us through this?
Yes. I had this in everybody's packet, so y'all can review it and stuff and make notes, and this is just a workshop, so we can work through it. That's why we do this. So, and this is using the tax rate of 0.1187. And, Rusty called me and Teresa called me too, to kind of go over this. They had some questions on some of the numbers and stuff, like, on the revenue at the 0.1187 tax rate, would collect 6.247396. And then, On our interest through tax pool and stuff, we're estimating that we would roughly get about 500,000 in interest next year on our money in tax pool. The fees is 100,000. That's for review fees and that type of stuff for Scott to review plans and stuff. And then detention fund revenue is 200,000. On the personnel benefit,
Just a second, goes, the 0.1187 is, zero net increase in income.
that's correct. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes. And on
Okay, go ahead.
personnel benefits, we added 2 more people, so we took the retirement contributions up to 175, health insurance to 210, workman's comp got 10,000. I've been here 15 years and we haven't had one workman's comp claim so forth. So, and unemployment, we got that at 5,000. On professional services, MS4, they do my stormwater. It's 28.5. Legal counsel is 25. Engineering services is 100. Now, if you remember back on the other one, fees, the 100,000, that's kind of an offset between those fees and the engineering cost for the review fees, not for the additional stuff that we asked Scott to do. Surveying services, 5,000. Accounting and audit is 18,500. Central appraisal districts, 42,000. Elections, 41,000. And each year out of Baker Road detention, DDD 4 gets 20% of the regional detention that we collect. So that's what that 15,000 is.
Was last year's 22,000 higher than normal? Is that why we're staying at 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Equipment services and maintenance, heavy equipment, we're gonna leave it the same. All of these stay the same. Is 42,000. Small is 2,500. Trucks is 40,000. Job supplies is 4,500. And tools is 2,000. And field supplies 2,000 as well. Moving down to chemicals is 500. Fuel cost is 45,000. Lubricants is 6,000. On the lubricants, once a year we fill our bulk tanks up in the back. It comes in around $5,600. So, and then facility maintenance is 35,000. Office supplies is 9,000. Office support and services is 15. Communications is 15. Postage is 550. Notice of publications and ad is 1,500. Insurance and bonds is 55,000. Meeting and meals is 4,000. And then we'll go down to payroll expenses. Again, we added 2 more employees, so it'll be $675 for employee salary. Overtime is 10,000. Board salary is 30,000. Employee safety recognition is 9,000. Payroll services 1,000. Payroll taxes is 50,000. The support and operating costs, uniforms is 9,000. Clothing is 3,000. Travel and training is 4,000. Memberships, due and subscriptions is 3,000. Utilities is 30,000. And operating supplies 6,500. Capital projects, 7511 Clear Creek. We got 1.5 million. And that's for all the barge work and whatever bank work and stuff we do along Clear Creek. The next one, we're gonna go to 7511D, Whitaker Basin expansion. We got $1 million in there for that. 7511E will be Quaker's Landing, 750,000. 7511F, Deepwood Project, 150,000. 7511G, Frenchman's Creek Project, 500,000. Kicker Creek, 400,000. Mary's Creek 7523C. This is improvements around the Baptist church and stuff. That's $1 million. And 7526 J is improvements downstream of Baker Road on Cards Creek. That's 350,000. And Castlewood Detention is 800,000. And then added this new one because we got a general maintenance contractor. So 7527 general maintenance. That's for all the maintenance and stuff that my general contractor does for us, and that's at 900,000. That's a total of 7,650,000.
That 900 is reflected back over here under maintenance.
Yeah, we'll get to that on the next page. Then on the next page, on creek ditch maintenance and stuff, if you notice, what was spent as of August the 9th, it was 905,000. That's where the general maintenance from the general maintenance contract, that's where that was getting accounted for in here. Now that got moved to its own general maintenance. So these all fall back in line, and this is for like all repairs that we do within the house, the vegetation controls, and that type of stuff. And then we got the detention pond maintenance. Those all will stay the same, like for Baker Road, 25,000. Baker Road, 33 acres, I'm sorry, it's 25,000. Madera Regional Detention of 25,000, and miscellaneous is 25,000.
Is that where like Forest of Friendswood would be in the miscellaneous?
Yes.
Okay.
And asset and acquisitions, facility improvements, 30,000. Land acquisitions, 500,000. And right of way and easement acquisitions is 600,000. And we'll come to the capital outlay, maintenance equipment, it's 195,000, and vehicles is 180,000. And office equipment is 15,000. For expenditures, that's $11,308,000 and $50.
What did we, if you forecast through the end of what did we spend last year? Right at,
Last, we had expenditures of $8,138,000.
that's what we forecast. Cause on here it's 7.6, right?
Right.
So we're guessing it's about 8 million. So it's gonna be $1.2 million. All right,
Folks, yes.
negative $1.2 million.
So, if I can talk, Kevin, on the,
Yeah, go ahead.
on
I
the,
think Jim's done,
are
right?
you done yet? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Rustin.
So I was talking, I'd like to work with the board on this, and of course, I want to work more towards a balanced budget, and so we're going to, the biggest page, of course, is the project page, a lot of money at. I think there's some areas up front. I've talked to Joseph, I'd like to talk to Kevin and them about maybe saving a little money, but of course, on the projects, depending on what we do with the tax rate and stuff, and we might have to defer some of those, shuffle some of that around. I can only think of something I'd like to cut back and to redistribute, maybe delay. But of course, honestly, I can't see us, we're not going to, we have capital reserves, but I can't see us deficit spending $4 million for a budget for this year. And I don't think we're going to. I'm just speaking for myself. So I'd like to work through this with the board, especially on the projects where the big money is. and get us closer to our budget being balanced this year. It's gonna take some work, but, there's just projects that we're gonna have to maybe put off till, 2025 or, and schedule them out. It's just gonna take some fiscal discipline working through these numbers. On the, so do you expect for ProScape and for everybody, so you're expecting next year to be around $900,000? That's what you're thinking?
Yeah, and I'm forecasting that off of what it was basically this year.
And let y'all know, we have the barge, we have separated on that, so that the barge just has a separate column up there.
The
But,
barge is under 7511.
Right.
Clear Creek.
so you're expecting ProScape and, the maintenance of, to be around $900,000 for our contractors.
That's correct.
If you do $1 million there and $1 million for employees, that's $2 million out of our revenue. So at least about $4 million to spend. So we've got about $4 million for projects.
And like I said, I can see us having good projects eating into the capital reserves for, if we have to, for some good projects. But like I said, we just need to get that number where it matches up, and then we can decide what's really important to do.
You gotta remember, Teresa, you mentioned, if you guys don't mind, I'll make a comment. Is it okay?
Oh, yeah.
Beg your pardon? Is it okay if I make a comment?
Absolutely.
You got the floor. Teresa asked how do we prioritize what projects? As far as projects, some of them require purchasing of land. Some of them don't. Some of them require purchasing or doing work before we can do any shelving or drainage improvements. Some of them don't. Some of them require permits with either the Corps or other entities. Some of them require rules to be followed because of an interlocal agreement. Some of them require an interlocal agreement to be established. So kind of look at it like a pachinko machine. Okay, we know we want to do this project, so we're going through, does it need a Corps permit over here? So we got about 8 projects going at one time right this year.
Mhm.
How do they come to fruition is the timing, try to strategize it. So conceivably, all these projects could come to fruition in 2023. Doesn't mean we have to do them all. Okay, they're gonna be, the idea is to get them ready to do it. I agree with Rusty, keeping a balanced budget's my objective. I don't think we should spend more than we have coming in. When you're talking about revenue, I think there should be a balance between what can we manage effectively, what can we pay for, and what revenue do we have coming in to vary with what we can pay for. Now, of course, we're all forgetting one thing, Mother Nature. Past years, we've had rain when we were in situations where we were doing dirt work. Well, we couldn't do it, so we backed off and did the maintenance. This year, we've had 47 days of no rain. So yeah, we're getting a lot done. Wait till the rain comes, usually in the winter months. So this is forecasted off of all these things coming to fruition, which they're all pretty dang close. We've worked hard to get them lined up. Now we don't have to do them all. Pull back and let's figure out what we can do with the weather good. We got a lot of them right there. We're in process on quite a few of them. I would say, look at what we're in process, and I've done this. Look at what we have in process, look at finishing those and address getting the other ones coming down the pachinko machine or coming down the process, get them ready. Try to marry that with our revenue. So my goal is to have all these projects, $11 million worth of projects ready to be queued up and done, stacked. Now decide which ones you want to do. I encourage you, when you're looking at the budget, do the ones we already have in process rather than stopping what we're doing. And that's gonna be a balancing act. So transparency is what we got here. And there's still about $30 million of projects that aren't in here coming. I can go over those with you, but I think this is enough to chew on for right now.
And that's why I listed all these projects here. You know, so as the board and myself, where we can pick and choose how we want to, you know, handle the capital projects.
I think a little bit of difference. Look at it.
No.
We've got significant capital reserve. Right now, we're rolling big time. We've got 8 projects going.
Yeah, finish.
They're all good projects. Everybody else seems like increasing taxes on our public. I don't want to do that this time. But our capital reserve in the bank is not doing anything to keep water out of people's houses. And I'm all for looking at it real hard and suggesting we draw that down to cover these projects.
I think we will draw it down some. I don't know if we'll draw it down all the way, but I think we will draw it down some. And I think that's probably going to happen based on some of the opportunities we have. And I'm really talking about stuff like at Deepwood, stuff that we already have going to finish up. That's expensive if we can have good weather. And once again, we could have bad weather, like Kevin said, and it could stop us. And we could have a bad year and we might not spend. The thing about it is we might not spend as much money this year as we want to, even with if Jim, you know, and the board does that because of weather. We'll catch up next year. But we do have significant capital reserves. There's no doubt about it. It's not doing much. It kind of reminds me of having a bunch of money for an airport. You just don't spend it. You just quit flying before you use your airport and you die with the money. So I agree. We can draw some down because we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that. It's just a matter of lining up the project, finishing what we started, which is always, I think, important in everything in life. And then the Frenchman's Creek project that's coming up with the city, I think is going to be important. That's a big project. Deep Woods right there. That's at the confluence of Cowards and Clear Creek. And of course, we're looking, I mean, I'm looking south this year and I'm encouraging the board to look south this year in our district for other projects. So yes, there's no telling what could come up, but we will have, like Kevin said, we will have to stack some stuff. Like I alluded to earlier too, we can't do everything, even with our capital reserves, because 30 million coming down the pipe, we know in Friendswood, we could do 130 million worth of drainage projects. So
I totally support prioritizing the projects. Get the biggest bang out of our buck.
right.
The return on investment is what we've identified as the projects that are currently working right now.
Yeah.
The ones we haven't started yet. I think Frenchman's Creek, Galveston County won't have their stuff out of the way till, what'd they say, Rusty? December, end of this year.
So they're going to shoot probably for the very end of the year.
So then that's 3 months of our budget. Can we do yeah, we can do $500,000 worth of work. There's no acquisition, there's no clearing, there's no, you just get in there and start shelving. So that's a quick one. Deepwood's a quick one for next year. Finishing Castlewood, those 3 ponds, that shouldn't be a problem. Finishing over there behind Kroger and on the bend at their 212 in the Baptist church, that shouldn't be a problem.
Quakers,
Yeah, Quaker's Landing.
Quaker expansion.
That one might be a little troublesome because we still got some hoops to go through there, but I think the beauty of that one is there's no property acquisition, no clearing, no permit. Well, a little permit with that outfall. And then just take it. So I think that's enough to chew on and be okay. That's what I saw. I'm sitting back, but I wanted to get everybody else's opinion. And then we could drop the tax rate a penny.
And on
If that's what y'all want to do.
on the basin, Kevin, going to this one, the basin, if you don't mind, the basin, that was one I talked to you about yesterday. That's one where, yes, we could, those are things we could maybe delay because the south work, you know, I think in my mind takes priority over that. And we already have some good work going up there, but yes, there's some things that could delay out and like it's low down there. It could just be weather could make those things
Right.
happen. You never know, but those are things I think we need to get with the board and line up the money with the project with our best ability on the weather forecasting, which is a total unknown.
Once you subtract out 1959 in our reserves and our 90-day reserve that's required, all that's left is the money that we couldn't spend because of weather in previous budgets. So it's really, I think focusing down on that. And we ran a negative $1 million last year, ate up a little reserve. I think we ought to look at running a negative $1 million this year, eat up a little more reserve and take a look back at it next year. Just my opinion. And you cut the tax rate a penny. I think we can accomplish all the work that we have planned. We have the ability to do that much work. And I think we all ought to look back and be proud of what we did get done.
If we do all the work, we'll cut our reserves by about half.
Absolutely.
It's if we cut off, if we do all our work this year on this budget. But if we lay out, we've cut it about half, we've cut it about a quarter, we cut it about a third.
Well, if we did all the projects, it would leave enough for our 90-day reserve. It would leave enough for 1959's commitment and probably $800 to $1 million left. Just to let you all know.
I think 59 is outside of the reserve.
Yeah, but
Well, it's earmarked.
Right.
We haven't spent but $67,000,
$417.
$417,000 on engineering. So it's earmarked in our reserve for when they do the catch call, we go, whew. I don't want to spend that money and not have it when we need it.
We're not gonna spend that, no way.
So y'all want to look at it and we can discuss it a little more. Take it home, chew on it. I don't know what y'all want to do. You want to, I'm just throwing it out there.
I think it's important if we could decide on what is the minimum cash reserve balance. And then go from there.
I already got that number. What I feel comfortable with.
What did you come up with?
That's why I looked at this 4.4. I came up with 90-day reserve, 1959 at 2.8. I rounded down.
Mhm.
And then $1.5 million for a buffer on a reserve. And that got me to we can do that, but you're gonna have weather in there, say 10% of the time. Well, that means we ain't gonna be able to do 10% of this. So that takes it down to 10 million. This is an every day we could work. You know that ain't happening.
Yeah, I just want to talk about, maybe,
Go
I
ahead.
want to talk about just maybe reshuffling some of the revenue around. And that's maybe where we need to maybe chew on this and just shuffle the project. I'm not saying we don't have the ability, and remember, not to tax people and get the money. We have the money to do the projects. So it's not about raising taxes to get the money. We have the money to cut into our reserves that we have substantial reserves to do more projects. But I want to talk to the board about maybe shuffling up some of the money. I think we're going to spend more money in Deepwood and at Frenchman's Creek than we are. It's a large piece of property. I think we have some substantial work to do. I think that
You think we could do a bunch of that in a year? I don't think so, because our partner in that is the city, and they've got to jump through hoops with their ARP money or something. That's where they're going to use that to take care of Deepwood. I foresee that as taking 9 months before we can really get going on Deepwood.
You're probably right. We've had a news thrown at us here lately. It's a CDBG project.
That's it.
And our partner at the GLO, who has been championing, pushing us along, is no longer there as of last week. So we're having to trade somebody new. So.
And yeah, regardless of,
It's a nice way to say it.
yeah.
Train somebody new.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter if it's delayed. I still think we will spend more money on the Deepwood and the Frenchman's Creek project than what's in this number.
Not arguing. That's just
Right.
for this period.
Whether it comes out this year or it slides into a split year, yes, that can happen.
Bye, Robert.
I just think maybe we should discuss some of these numbers. I think there's some numbers that could be a little weather outstanding because we don't know what weather, but I just think there's some numbers we can shuffle around here on projects. It's just prioritization, like Teresa was talking about, and prioritize money in maybe the different areas, even keeping the number the same. Not to mention if we decide to reduce a little bit to meet our reserve, whatever we decide as a board, we want our reserve to go down to. We can decide we want to eat up $3 billion of reserve, $4 million, take the number to 5, take it to 4.5, whatever we're comfortable with, meeting all of our goals, and then shuffle some of this stuff around. Like I said, yes, I cannot predict if.
I got no problem shuffling it around.
Yeah.
Because it's probably gonna be a moment decision anyway.
Oh, Robert left. So Hill on. Now I want to be sure, because Jim and I were talking about this when we were out the project, along with Scott, and I talked to Joseph about it yesterday. The project at Frenchman's Creek, once the county gets those down, they're out of there. Then it becomes a city decision and us on the drainage project. That's correct. The county wants, from what I can tell, the county wants to do it, wash their hands, and get on down the road. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay.
City 2, all they're gonna leave it as open space. My understanding.
There's no constraints there. Where's the county getting their money from?
That's a grant. That's grant money, I think. I believe
GLO.
GLO grant money. Isn't it GLO grant money? And they had to.
And then the grant money allows them to transfer ownership to the city.
And the GLO, and they're on a process. Galveston County is on a process. The city got ahead of them. They ought to be 60 to 90 days behind them demoing that. And then it's slated to just be open space is what I was told. But we can do it interlocal, shelve it. There's a lot of elevation there that we could take advantage of.
The city's gonna gain ownership from that, from the county?
Yes. So we were correct in so it's just gonna come, like I said, it's gonna decide, like Kevin said, what we need in the city partner to do up there. Believe me, we've talked about that. We met, we reported on that. There's a lot of opportunity there.
We only planned $500,000 because of the timing. We could be able to do anything. There's gonna be, depending on what y'all want to do, if you take down, you shelve that back to the main street there to that house and take it around, you're probably looking at $2 million in addition to the $500,000 just for moving the dirt and getting it out of there. I mean, I don't think there's anything we have to worry about sewer or power or anything. That's all gone, right?
So I agree with you. That's why this year, I agree, it's going to be probably a couple $1 million. I had for that project for this year. It's just one thing I went through. We can talk about this. That's just one detail. I had $850 for that project for this year. That might be ambitious. And the thing that could hold us up is if we get held up by GLO studies, if we get held up by the city at all and stuff with interlocal. I mean, that gives us about, like I said, 9 months of our budget to get working in there. However, if we do that,
6.
Well,
at best, because
October 6th. But when we do get working in there, we can go. We can go.
I don't even want to come out of there with the dirt right through the middle of the subdivision.
Well, that's what I thought. That's another thing. Yeah, there's like 2 ways out of there.
Yeah,
One run.
in front of your house or in front of the rest of them.
Right, and eventually, I think what the city will probably do, and I think they've waited, I think they talked about that, is they've waited until maybe their project is completed before they redo those streets. Those streets are in bad shape and narrow anyway, right now. So,
The shortest route's out front of your house.
yes, that's where they've
I
been
mean,
going.
it's a whole lot shorter.
That's where they've been going. They've been just ripping them out. And you know, that's, we have to be careful there, Joseph, because there's a lot of kids there and there's no sidewalks. And it's a very narrow asphalt road that's not in the greatest condition. It's not even. But it's going out to the Forest Friendswood gave them heartache. This is really going to give them heartache.
So getting back to, may I speak?
Yes.
Yes, so, getting back to the budget discussion, taking a broader view of it, I agree with completing the things that we have in progress. For the others, it would be helpful to see a timeline with the different projects and identify where do we have these critical points where we have to interact with the different entities.
It'll help a lot when you ride around with Joseph to Friday,
Mhm,
you and Lonnie.
mhm.
You'll see the projects, so you'll see what's in process. Then you pull them out and look at the ones on here
Mhm,
and then ask Joseph or myself, and we can tell you where we're at in the process.
mhm.
That's the only way I know to do it right now.
And then also to understand the impact of each project and the impact of not doing them or deferring them. How consequential would that be? So that's something I'd like to understand also.
Joseph, can you enlighten her when you're driving around? You're gonna take her to everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to lunch.
Be a long day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it.
Eyes and boots on the ground is, I wish I could get Harris County to get away from their computers and come out here. But we're making progress without that, so. Lana,
I don't have any comment at this point. I agree with you to do what we can do, keeping in mind our reserves.
absolutely. And if anybody's got any ideas of another one or two revenue streams, we could do a lot more if we could find some money. Well, I'm trying to do these partnerships and reduce the burden on getting a project done when it benefits more than just us. Example, the Bay Area pond expanding it 10 times from 10 acres to 100 acres. Looking at the projects that Pearland's doing upstream from us, there's some great opportunities up there. We can just pony in maybe $1 million and get a $40 million project and then have some say in it. So if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
So I'd like to make a motion that is highly modifiable. I'd like to make a motion that we don't approve anything right now, I make a motion that we determine a reserve amount that we're comfortable with, what the board's comfortable with. We determine a budget number that we're comfortable with doing this year, that we're anticipating that we can do with all the things that we talked about, whether delays, GLO money, grant, whatever, city, whatever. And we determine a prioritization list of how we're going to kick these things off. Current projects, new projects, and the order we're going to do these in as we determine the first two. So that will give us a reserve amount we're comfortable with. That will give us then we can determine a hard number that we're good with on the budget. That will leave us a reserve amount we're good with, and then we can determine the prioritization. So my motion is to determine all those three things before we proceed with approving a budget.
And we gotta do the budget. We gotta approve the budget by next meeting, right?
No, by the end of September.
We got a month.
But we're gonna have to decide on the tax rate because it needs to be in the paper.
By next meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's gotta be in at least 7 days before.
So we need to come up with our tax rate. So you don't set the tax rate before you know how much you want to spend. So let's go with the deadline to have this flushed out so we can set our tax rate at our next meeting. You all good with that?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so Rusty made a motion in
Please
the,
re-summarize your
Just
question.
for budgeting purposes, notwithstanding the tax rate, because we have to know how much money we're going to get. And this is predicated on the 6.247 number at the top of this page right here.
Which is the 1% drop,
Correct. That's
or
predicated.
1 penny drop.
So predicated on that number, I'm not saying I'm tied to that because we haven't decided that yet. I'm just saying when it comes to budgeting, let's determine the first thing, which is how much we're comfortable leaving in reserves in our reserve account. Number two, the budget number at that point that we're going to allocate. So we determine a number in the budget that we are going to spend. We're going to do it section by section, item by item if need to. Details need to come to a number. The third thing is we prioritize those items and how the projects, how we would line up that money if everything held and the weather held. Of course, that's subject to change. And that's my motion, just to reserve.
Second, all those in favor?
I
All those opposed? Opposed? Thank you, Rusty. Consent agenda, is there anything on the consent agenda that somebody would like to remove or edit? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Operations.
Who made the motion on the consent agenda?
Teresa.
It was fun. Sorry. I've had a little caffeine. You pretty much covered your, but go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, everything's moving along good, but actually could use a little bit of rain. It's
We got sprinkles outside. I saw that.
made it a lot hotter too, a few drops, but
Look at my hair.
everything's moving along good. Projects, the mowing and stuff has slowed way down now because, the drought. So that slowed down a lot, but I think it's Castlewood projects, they're putting in outfall and stuff now. And then once they get done, they'll move to the next spot to start that at 2 Queens. Got to start at 2 Queens because of the route, get trucks in and out, but.
That'd be pond 3. And then that'll give us a place to park. And then when we're done there, we'll park in the belly at 2 when we're doing that. And then we're done.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, at Quakers, they start clearing that and did the one call and stuff, and they hit the gas line and Center Point come out and fixed it. Got them to come back out and remark the lines, and they didn't mark them where they were supposed to be, and we hit it again, so I think we hit it like 3 times total, but we did our one call and all that stuff, and so it was on Center Point. The barge is working every day right now and stuff, and they're making a lot of progress.
Clarify that.
Yeah.
The main is running on the back. So when they took these houses out, they left the leads. They took the meters out, capped them, left the leads in. When they came out, they only marked the mains. They didn't mark the leads. So they were as surprised as we were when we found them.
So I asked Kevin, so where him and I walked back there, where that road pipe was that you sent me in the picture, that's where they hit some gas lines?
After they'd already been called.
Yeah, after we did a one call, and we made a 4 times we did one calls on them.
I told them to stand there while we're digging, just to
And,
be safe.
Because there were so many unknowns in that area.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, after about the 4th or 5th call, they finally showed up. And then once we hit the gas line, well, they were there. And then, all right, mark the lines. And
We're on a first name basis now.
yeah, it was,
I can tell you, companies aren't always very good about tracking the location of abandoned lines.
yeah. And, and the greatest thing, nobody got hurt or nothing from the gas line. So that's the biggest thing. And on Mary's Creek, where the purple house was and all that, we're moving along really well over there. Again, we need some moisture. It's
But we got all the sand out of that vein.
pretty much, yes.
So then we're coming around, we're gonna slope all that.
Yeah.
And then take out okay.
And, but just trying to get our compaction rate, it's, you gotta add water to it from the creek, so we're working through it, so. But it's looking good, everything's looking good, and this Friday I'm taking Teresa and Lonnie on a grand tour of the district.
Any questions for Joseph? Kathy?
I'm happy to say, thanks to our engineer, that this meeting was held live on computers.
Go.
It's being recorded too.
Do we have to do any, everything has been recorded there for,
It pops it up on Teams to all the viewers.
all right, so our disclaimers are there. Engineer?
We had it all along and just didn't.
So we had the final walkthrough with the city and LJ and the contractor at Avalon North Detention Pond last Thursday, I believe, and it went really well. Unique. Y'all were talking about the sand vein over on Mary's Creek. The detention pond is completely dry. It's clay. You go across the street where there's a sand pit, right, that they improved. But they're dewatering probably 150 foot from the edge of the pond. So that sand vein kind of comes through there, putting in a deep sanitary line and just as deep as the bottom of the pond. So it's unique how those sand veins go. But,
Dewatering in this weather.
yeah, they're dewatering and there's no water in their wet detention pond. So, they've got a challenge there to figure that out. But other than that, we've got some reviews in for some projects. A couple of things on the Whitaker detention pond expansion, WGA, finding some minor impacts along Mary's Creek for the 25-year storm event. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. They're looking at their 2D model that they're using didn't have the improvements that we made downstream. So they're looking into that, trying to make sure that that it showed no impacts, or B, if we need to make some different improvements, right? And they're taking some of the drone footage into consideration with the change of the Manning's roughness coefficient along the creek when we're clearing grubbing. So they're going to implement that in the model, see if it reduces the impacts. The Forest to Friendswood Pond expansion, we're trying to work on the core permit right now. Just got a map from SMC Consultant showing some small wetland locations on there. So we've got to overlay that and calculate what kind of impacts we're going to have in that. Unfortunately, the existing pond, part of it, you remember that, Ms. Teresa, how it held water? Well, the portion that held water before it was improved is on the map as a wetland. So we're going to regrade that. So we've got to look at that. So that just came on my desk, across my desk yesterday. So we're going to look at doing that. So other than that, that's all I have. I've got some comments back from Ms. Teresa and Mr. Jim on design criteria manual. Samantha has a copy of it. She's going to look and make sure we're on the same page with the city. And then WGA is giving us a tentative date of mid-October to look at the modeling criteria that's in there, our drainage impact analysis and H&H study. Make sure we're up to date on what the current status quo is for the industry. So.
Any questions for Scott? Hey, thanks for getting that attachment 4 done so quickly.
You're welcome.
And you guys spent some time out there at Frenchman's Creek. Tell me what you see.
Yeah, I think it's a great potential project.
Do you see anything that would stub our toe and get it done productively, other than Galveston County needs to get out of the way? Is there 3 buildings there that they have?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 or 4. So when they get out of the way, they pull up the concrete, or Friendswood comes in and pulls up the concrete. We're just looking at dirt work, no excavation. Get good weather, we can make hay. But
yeah,
am I missing something? Am I missing something here? Is there any gas? Is there any sewer?
Yeah, there's some trees there that along the creek bank and up front, they pointed out we probably need
along the street right there.
Yes, sir.
Leave that. Rest of that, maybe even call it a park. There's enough dirt there. Once we slope down to a high water mark, you can play I don't know. Baseball goes in the creek, but football, it's going to be a big flat spot.
No more traffic.
No,
No more traffic.
it reduced your trips from all those condos. That's going to be a plus. Oh, no more traffic making the park. Okay, I get it. Never mind. I retract my statement. Anyway, I was just thinking of what you could do with it. Something hey, if we deed it over to the HOA after we get it done, we don't have to mow it. You guys want to mow it?
we talked about making it dry anyway.
Oh, it's gonna be dry. It ain't
Not,
gonna get hard.
not a lot of, hopefully, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of mowing back there. They're not mowing it right now. But one thing we talked about and Neil, maybe you can help us with this, is the city is not picking up the road back there. They're stopping at that fence, a temporary fence, and they're leaving the road. Why are they leaving the road past the temporary fence? Is it for access, or because eventually that road is gonna have to come up?
It's for access to the other buildings for the county, then it's coming up.
But it's going past. What I'm saying is they could have access. They could cut it off at their temporary fence and still have access to all the things they're tearing down. They're leaving the road past the temporary fence, past there. Like Scott and I were talking about that. And so I don't know why they leaving that road.
I'm not sure of that. That's been, that portion has been handled by our fire marshal office, but
Simmons.
we can, we can find out.
Yeah, but that
What exactly place is.
Right.
Probably for placement of dumpsters.
In conversation you had with the contractor, you had foreman got the head honcho in the office on there, and it's not their contract to remove that portion of the road.
we talked to him, Jim and I and Scott. Just eventually somebody,
Our desire is that it goes away.
yeah, it has to go away eventually. I mean,
It's gonna go away.
otherwise the taxpayers, we will be paying for it to go away.
I think, we've encouraged the right person sitting in this room to ferret out what the process should be. That'd be you.
I think his name is Mo Kabiri.
Yeah, did you ask him? Ask him to give me a call.
I would think the city was just responsible for the road up to where the fence was, where their responsibility lies. And then the majority of the road is going to be actually the county.
Will be in the scope of work.
Correct.
We'll find out. We'll pass along anything to find out.
Everything's negotiable at this point, right? Because nobody's done. I would think. Anyway, good point. Anything else? So just quickly. Rusty and I looked at this. Found, we got 1.3 million here that I don't think will be spent this next fiscal year. Keep it in your back pocket. That Whitaker expansion, based on what he just said, I think that's gonna push it out past the end of the year. 350 for improvements at Baker Road. Keep that in your back pocket. Because we need to expand that, which will be part of my comments later today. We need to expand that. So we have some more regional detention capacity for revenue.
How about Deepwood?
Deepwood's on, what do we got there? 450? That could happen. Matter of fact, we're gonna be talking about it here in a few minutes. But I don't see, I don't see all of it being spent, but initially some of it is gonna be spent. But the city won't be ready to do their portion of it for a while, and that's gonna take over the public works area. So that's just getting our feet in there and getting out of the city's way to spend their money on it. We'll
So,
have to do something so they can finish their project.
so Kevin, you're saying take the Whitaker Basin off?
Tentatively, I'm just, Whitaker base, keep moving forward on it. Don't budget it to be done, because we still got some stuff to do there.
Correct.
We got issues. Linda, we got issues.
But the 350 on Cards Creek,
350 on improvements downstream Baker Road.
yes, I do have a big blowout upstream of Sunset.
You do.
That's gotta be fixed. So that needs to stay in there.
All right, so,
You think that's gonna be up to all 350?
Yeah, close to it, yeah.
Really?
so basically what we just did is we got it down to 3 million into our reserves. Took the Whitaker and kicked it to next year. So we're at 3 million. Any ideas? Let us know. Be prepared at the next meeting. Okay, we good to move on? Go.
Kathy, how soon do we need to know about the tax rate? But I know Robin's gotta have so many days.
Next meeting.
Next meeting.
That's why we did this now. Council liaisons gone, city engineers report.
I'm gonna speak to that. So just a few things. Forest Bend, I believe we're doing the final walkthrough this morning. So, we should schedule some type of ceremony here soon.
Bring monthly.
The Wickham project, Don referred to the 10 million that's coming from, the state earlier. We are also working with the developer there to try to make sure that the detention pond they are building will work with the project that we're planning for that area. So we'll probably, I would foresee we start looking at, I mean, once we get that 10 million, we're ready to go ahead and start working on the preliminary engineering there. So we're excited.
Are you
about
getting 400 foot right away?
You want to speak?
That is still,
They haven't platted yet?
Yeah.
When they plat, we're getting it, right?
the amount of right of way is going to depend on what the PDR says, and it's going to be that's a point of negotiation with us with them as well. So
When you're negotiating with them, tell them, don't make me come to the meeting, because when we worked with them initially, they said, we'll give that to you. I said, put it down, write it down. When you plat, I get it. So don't let them crawfish on you. I'll come in there, sit with the pastor and that slick haired guy. Tell them, hey, you promised us that. We worked with you. Pony up. Okay, I'm serious.
all right, thank you.
That makes me mad for even talking about negotiating with that. Thank you.
Continuing on, the Wickham, so we had submitted a project that included inline, offline detention at the Wickham property and then further downstream at the Blackhawk property. And it made it into the state flood plan, which is really good news.
Is that Greg Bonin talking about that?
Well, that's for Wickham.
Okay.
That's separate. That's part of the interlocal that we have for the, right. So separately, the state is putting together a flood plan for the first time ever. And we've done a lot of work to get the Wickham and Blackhawk properties into the state flood plan. So future funding opportunities, you pretty much have to have your project in there to be eligible. So it's a great thing that we got it into the state flood plan. So we're not sure, how the funding is going to come down yet, but that we checked off.
What's the deadline for that?
To get things into the state flood plan. I believe that they've already done the amended version right now. So you'd have to look at doing it for the sequential one. In 2024, they're going to put out the initial flood plan.
My recommendation is pile on.
Additional.
Throw every project at them. They can deny them, but at least we'll be piled on them and be in the consideration. Do you see what my strategy is? Even if it's not complete with all the information, put as much on them as you can with this. They can kick stuff out, but they can never say we didn't apply. Following me?
Yeah, this is my understanding is this going to work familiar, similar to the state water plan.
Understood.
And the strategy there is to throw everything at it so that you have it in there. So that, if they can't say no, you didn't have it in there.
Throw it all on the wall.
So can we throw it in there, any interlocals that we do with you and drag some of our stuff there?
We'd be looking at the 2025.
Correct.
Yeah, unless there's a amendment between now and then, but
I don't think.
Can you guys get with Scott and see what we're working on that could incorporate into that?
Yeah, I need to talk to our GIS department. We're about to do a capital improvement plan update here. It's probably going to eventually come out in the fall. not the fall, it'll probably be the winter, like February timeframe. But I would really like to work with you, Scott and Joseph, to try to get all the projects that you have ongoing, as well as planned projects, so we can get those mapped and information to put in there.
You guys see what I'm doing?
Hey, Samantha, is there reservation? I mean, is there any reservation about including it all? I mean, is there any? No? Okay.
You
No,
don't get it if you don't ask.
we threw all the projects that we had at it, but they want a certain level of development so that they can assess them. And for this project, we had worked to have, for the inline, offline detention at Wickham and Blackhawk, we had worked with Freeze and Nichols to kind of get a rough idea of what the benefit cost information was and to do some modeling. So, I mean, now, I think at the time, I know you've kind of done a little bit of a master plan, and then we'll have the results from the master drainage plan for the next go around, hopefully.
See, I staggered that, we're gonna have it, and it'll hit for the 2024-25.
Right,
We'll have all the information, we'll have done our, what I call a tick sheet form to get it. We ought to come up with a generic interlocal agreement where we can just plug in who and the project to show the paperwork to the state.
and that's what we were thinking with this, with the master drainage plan. For each of the alternatives that we identify, we're looking to develop a benefit cost ratio, so that they'll be positioned for future grant opportunities or to throw into the state flood plan. So we were kind of forward thinking about, so that.
Make sure that it shows that the 400,000 we spent is definitely a cost benefit.
Scott,
See what I asked?
I think that's important, that make sure that process is just like repeatable for those projects, one by one, and the communication with us is good and the paperwork's proper, so there's no, because I mean, I sense that handle reservation, I was gonna make sure, and it's probably just clerical stuff, but I want to make sure that we have everything tied up so we don't miss out on any potential help there. I mean, based on just not talking, not be having our I's dotted and T's crossed. So let's make sure that that's tight. We have new GLO representation, so I think we have an ear up there right now with Dawn and her team. And maybe Peg can speak more to that, or John, but.
Was that clear enough, Scott?
Yes.
For you?
Yes.
Good.
Have y'all, what is the deadline for selecting the firm for the master drainage?
So that's something that we
Are you
and
talking our master drainage plan, or are you talking the states?
No, the city.
The city, we've come to an agreement, as in my notes, it should be complete within a year from September. What we said in the minutes of the meeting, we figured it out that we should follow up on it in a year. You're not going anywhere, are you?
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But last week we found out the state has come through on the grant that we applied for.
I heard that.
So they're gonna give us $660,000.
So am I getting any portion of my money back?
Yes.
That's what we'd like to talk to you about. So
Show me the money. Do not delay the project. Now, does this change what hoops we have to jump through since we're taking their $600,000? Will it delay the productivity of our project? I hate to word it that way.
We'll have to rebid the project to include federal
Yes. Yes.
requirements, yeah.
That's yes. Is that what y'all want to do?
It's a significant amount of money.
$600,000?
660,000.
That's real close to 666. I'm not giving you. Well, since we don't have a choice in the matter, when is council going to be talking about whether to take that money or move on down the road? I get it, but I'd hate to delay the project a year. You see, when we do that project a year later, we don't have the information to get to the state in time.
There's one of our delays for the money.
Well, there's 10 million. There could be. Anyway, I guess we should discuss this one.
Yes.
yeah,
There is no free money. You know, there is no free money. Sorry. I took that wrong. I mean, you're coming, giving me money back, but if it goes with a bridle around my neck, I'm not really interested. But maybe Mo can tell me a better way to do it.
How long would it wouldn't delay it very long, would it?
They gotta rebid it.
FEMA would have to approve and that's already going to them, approve the award of that project. I really can't say how long it would be delayed if we went underground.
Let me say, nice work in getting the money. I don't want to make you feel like you did something bad. Thank you for getting the opportunity for us to take the money. Whether we do it, I don't know, but nice work getting it. Whoever got it, everybody conspired with their work. Thank you for getting the $600,000 for that study. I didn't say that correctly, and I apologize.
We applied, this is, I think it's Hurricane Harvey. I don't know if it was the disaster recovery money. We applied for this back in 2021, so it's just now coming through. We also applied for a generator we're just now kind of, it's been hinted that may come through as well, so.
Thank you. Any questions for city engineers, Brunswick? League City, tell me something. It's looking good over there.
Moving along, I would tell you the impression I have reported that tomorrow I'm walking that southern extension of Magnolia Bayou, which is the north-south collector. And then we're gonna confirm some corrections we asked them to make on the connection to McFarland, the Muldoon extension. So those two projects are looking very close to being accepted by the city, and that'll jumpstart some more section, residential section acceptances. So
Excellent. Where's your 2 points of egress over there?
So if you're talking about section 4.
How about any of it?
So McFarland, that connection to McFarland is
The gravel,
satisfying.
gravel road?
Yeah, satisfying that secondary access.
I'll remember that.
I don't want you to remember.
Now you know I've been harping on.
But no, that connection is what's been
It's
hindering.
imperative. Yeah.
But we're moving along.
You guys busy?
Yeah, I'm swamped these days. They're turning in more, the lakes of Westland Ranch, which is that southern piece, is starting to come online from a plan review standpoint. The Stedman West stuff that's moving.
Yeah, and then you got the Stedman West, well, that's out of your jurisdiction, south of 517.
Right. But
If you had to forecast how many starts, 1,100 potentially in a year, 12 months?
at least,
How about humps?
Well, he says the least, yeah.
I would, yeah, certainly. But we're making those connections on League City Parkway to is that Friendswood Parkway?
Yes.
Those
Up there by Westwood.
those plans have been approved. My understanding is that they're bidding that right now. The 2-lane that's missing in front of Magnolia Creek Golf Course, that's approved as well. That I believe that's being bidded also. So a lot going on.
Lot to take and lose.
Yes.
Okay, any questions? You know what that's telling you, right? Okay, everybody understand we've got 1,100 more residents coming in our jurisdiction. More taxes and more people sitting in the audience. Okay. Director's report, Lonnie?
What about Peggy?
Oh, Peg, I'm sorry, I didn't mark it up. Peggy, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry, nothing personal.
I would never take that personally. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. Just to piggyback on what Matt was saying, in the Houston Chronicle today, League City has just been named the most affordable housing in the Houston area when comparing income to cost. So Matt, here we go. 1,100 and counting. San Jacinto Region 6 Regional Flood Planning Committee or group, that is the mechanism to provide projects to feed into the state plan. To emphasize the importance of that, there is definite criteria that's been identified that the committee considers when deciding to add projects to the list. And right now, the Texas Development Water Board is continuing a process to determine how they're going to make the selection. We don't know that. All the regions submitted certainly more projects than there is money. And once we get that determination, that will help us decide how this will be staggered over the years. Meanwhile, we're undergoing the process to begin our second year of activity. So lots of opportunity, but a lot of strategy, I think, to take place. Play all that, and as everybody's been talking about, leveraging resources. I'm going to combine the discussion with GCPD and IMAC because we have the same people attending both meetings. Certainly, there continues to be the discussion about the new emphasis, and that is the message from Congress to come forward with smaller projects and be able to demonstrate success. And so where in the past, there's been the discussion, and one of the first projects would be our gates, most expensive part of the project, as well as probably the riskiest. That is being revisited. Discussions are taking place between GCPD and the Corps as far as resequencing. So I think that there will be a significant change in how we're going to approach going forward to promote our projects, and that will be in separate packages to where we can demonstrate, we can prove benefits. So totally revector as far as the approach, which I think emphasizes to all of us, this is so early in the process. There are so many unknowns that when folks decide to put their stake in the ground as far as what they want to make an issue of, or build coalitions, it's kind of important to understand where you are in the process, because how quickly we have switched from the way we were talking about going forward with the project to where we are now. Right now, the Corps has identified about $1 billion that's not been appropriated. So in all of the activity we've got going on with trying to move things forward, we've got state funding. We are talking to the Corps about, even out of that $1 billion, if we could get 50 million, what that would mean to help jumpstart some of the processes. So I would say to you that no matter what it is you're hearing out there, there are a lot of different opportunities, lots of pockets of money. Folks are going to just need to work together and understand that leveraging and a voice of going forward together, I think is going to be more and more important, especially in light of the tone that we're having in Congress right now. And when they reconvene up in September, it's not going to be pretty, because they've got to make some decisions regarding the budget. So I think the thought is right now, we're going to continue to advocate for our project, certainly come forward with a story that hopefully will satisfy what they're asking for, but it's going to be tough, really, really tough. But the Corps is in there with us. Congressman Weber is leading an effort with the Texas delegation to write a letter to the governor to encourage him to add the 2416, which is the Gulf Coast Protection Trust Fund, to add that back into special session. And that is yet another mechanism that we can use to have a resource for funds. So there are a lot of different moving parts. Things can change at any time, but I believe we've got the right people at the table to try to maximize our opportunities. The different business groups are still continuing to go to DC and advocate for the project and support the state approach to dealing with the supply chain issues. In closing, the Corps is having their stakeholder sessions today and tomorrow. Today is for industry. Tomorrow will be the stakeholder partnering. And the theme is Nexus Communities and Risk Management. Those sessions will be also streamed. All the information is on the website, and I have confirmed this morning that the Corps intends to also post the different sessions after. So there will be multiple opportunities for those of you who are interested to view. And that concludes our report.
Thanks for your involvement. It's nice seeing you in meetings when I don't know anybody else.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I oftentimes don't know anybody else either, but you know, I'm taking your advice and I'm at the table and trying to stay off the menu.
There you go.
Kevin, I have some information on the tax rate.
Go ahead.
We can propose a tax rate, but it has to, before we adopt it, it has to be in the newspaper for 7 days.
Right.
And so Robin's finding out when the deadline would be.
Back up 7 days from the end of September. That tells you when the deadline is, and that's a week after our next
So
meeting.
we can propose our next meeting, a tax rate. and
Yeah,
then
unless we
adopt
want to have a
it.
special session
And
to
that's what I
set
was
it.
gonna say, a special meeting. Okay, that's.
Either propose it and vote on it, or we'll have a special session. That's what I see coming.
What is the deadline? Do we know the deadline for sure?
She's talking to the lawyers right now.
Let us know the deadline you want.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Based on what Peggy just said, the funding for the big Ike Dike project was turned down, at least for this year. It'll be 2025 before we receive funding for that. We need to consider, and they do want to see lower amounts, that 26 to 30 billion dollars. And the Army Corps says every year that it's pushed back, it's going to cost another $3 billion because
At least inflation.
The Lower Clear Creek project has their foot in the door with the Army Corps for project. And what they're trying to accomplish is more what we're concerned with, and it's a much lower figure. We might want to consider trying to push the gates and the pump station and all that into the Lower Clear Creek project. And then that way we've got a much lower threshold for the money that we need to complete that project versus the whole Ike Dike project. That would help them out a little bit by lowering the cost of their project. So that's something that we just need to think it's not the Ike Dike or nothing. We've still got the Lower Clear Creek project, which has got their foot in the door. So we need to consider both those avenues for accomplishing what we need.
And that's a good point, but that has been the strategy all along. When we were having the discussions about our Lower Clear Creek studies, it's to look at, let's posture ourselves such that whichever opportunity opens first, we can jump on.
Right. Well, and the Lower Clear Creek's got part of their authorizations through the ward.
I'm not following.
And so.
Yeah.
We're not starting at zero.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So communication is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. I agree. And after that meeting with the Corps, would you let me know if we can make that diversion?
Oh, absolutely.
You see where
I
knew that was.
I've got my binoculars on you.
Yeah, I knew that was in our hand.
Yes, sir.
Well, since you'd like to reduce revenue, here's your solution. Okay.
I'll keep you informed.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Don. Directors, Bonnie?
And of course, Grace and I are going to be going with Joseph this week, coming more and more up to speed on the projects and eyes on them. Looking forward to that very much. Also, I'm eyeing some projects that I can do to support the board better and to further engage myself into what's going on. So, I'll be talking with you or going to talk to Joseph later today, so.
Thank you, Lonnie. Rusty?
Yeah, I'm glad that Joseph and Teresa are riding. I mean, Lonnie and Teresa are riding Joseph. That's good. I think I bug him every week to go look at something. We still got some stuff to look at. Yeah, when y'all look at that, if y'all can be wizards and look how we're gonna work in the southern part district, that'd be great. That still is a big emphasis for me. And I know I'm having Scott with that also. I'm excited about, as y'all can tell, I'm excited about Deepwood. I'm excited about Frenchman's Creek. I want to put the cart before the horse. We have a long way to go before we do stuff there, but we're going to get to those projects as we can have the land available to do them. Then we should work through the budget side on the reserve number, which is very important for our fiscal sanity here at the consolidated district. That's it.
Thank you.
I got a email from Jeff Miller that lives in Polly Ranch, thanking us for all the work we've done on Clear Creek desnagging and removing impediments from the creek. Nice to get a positive email. And Kevin and I went to the Quaker's Landing HOA last night since we're doing so much work there, and he had gotten some questions. Kevin made a very good presentation to the point that they clapped when we left. So we're in good shape with them. That's all I have.
Teresa?
I also received the email from Jeff Miller complimenting us on the barge work and what we're doing on Clear Creek. So that was really nice to receive that.
Do we post those on our websites, those letters?
We could, I forwarded it to Joseph, so
You'd have to-
Kathy, if you'd like, I can forward it to you also.
Yeah. Ask Jeff Miller if it's okay. Or maybe we don't want to get in the habit of that. Y'all's call, just a thought. Oh, we could put a chalkboard up there. Kudos, one.
Yeah, just have a kudos section of the website.
That might be worthwhile.
There you go. Well,
So, August 8th, I attended the Clear Creek Watershed Steering Committee meeting. Then the next day, I attended virtually the Gulf Coast Protection District meeting, got some good updates on projects, and just happened a few days later to be on the Sabine River and got to see the area where Orange County is doing their project work. So that was good. And then finally today and tomorrow, I will be attending the Army Corps forums. Today, the Industry Day Forum, and tomorrow, the Stakeholders Forum. So looking forward to that. And to the ride along.
could you report on that? And then I won't have to attend, please.
Sure.
The Corps.
Anything you want me to tell them? You know.
They don't listen anyway. I've tried to get them on the phone too, but figure out a way, get some, who's the new general of the Corps now? That,
Colonel Blackman.
see what contact information you can get on him.
And just,
Maybe he'll be a little different. Is he a Friendswood person?
he could be, I'm not, it seems like everybody lived in Lake City, but I could be confused. He's from the area, so, but I was going to say, if you don't mind, Colonel Vale, the former.
He's Friendswood.
Yes, sir, and he is now on the board of Baytran and wants to, he asked for lunch with me and we met, and he has some ideas about how to advocate and educate on drainage and flooding in the legislative process. So
We bring him, invite him to our meeting.
absolutely,
Kathy?
I will work with Kathy, and I think we have another excellent resource and networking and somebody who will help us, and I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you. God, I want to get on the phone with you on the last few pages of the DCM and the squiggly formulas and stuff. Some of them I think need to be adjusted because of the 2-foot change. Maybe I'm wrong.
We talked about that.
Yeah. we're gonna talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to find property for more regional retention, or we're gonna be out and we won't be able to help development. That's all I got.
In that way,
Yes,
could Frenchman Creek be pretty short of it?
that'd be him. September 19th is the date to adopt.
Everybody said.
So we have to put it in the paper by the 7th. So next meeting, we need to do it. All. Yep, next meeting will be the 7th, right?
Yeah, the next meeting is gonna be September the 12th.
Yeah.
When do
You
you
guys touch us.
We really should have proposed
Next week.
We're not over. You guys want to do a meeting to adopt it? You want to do it in a week?
We have to propose it before we adopt it, because it has to be in the newspaper.
So September 7th, if we have a meeting on the 29th to do it, that gets us time to get, that's correct.
Okay.
So
How
next
long does it
week,
take them to put it in the newspaper?
I'm just saying, what do y'all want to do?
How many days in advance?
Do we need a separate meeting to do it? Can we do it today?
We can still do it today. I haven't adjourned the meeting.
You can propose .1187 and
I'll tell you what,
We could.
why don't we just pause or take a break for a minute? I don't want everybody to feel jammed. I know what I want to do. I'm gonna go have a cigarette while you guys ponder it. I'll cut this off. Cut it off. Restroom break.
yes.
Background.
That was fun here.
Man.
I used to work there. That was good.
Make sure.
I will be off next week though.
It's okay. Somebody will have to publish it. We're gonna have a special meeting on the 29th.
I can do it from home. I mean, I'm just trying to hear down.
We're back on, right?
Tax assessor
He has
collector.
chemo.
Pardon me?
Typically, it's your tax assessor collector that sends those notifications to the newspaper.
Correct.
Yes,
So even if you're not here, then you're.
yeah, I just call her.
No, we're good. Will we have a quorum? Rusty, if you can't make it or somebody can't make it, you can give us your information on what your recommendation is. But it would appear that we need to have a special meeting on the 29th, which is a week from today, to set our tax rate, to get it published in time. All right?
Very good. Thank you.
That's the end of my report. Now,
I have one thing.
Jim's got one thing.
Matt said that they were gonna have 1,100 housetops soon, probably during the budget year. 2023-24, and a quick calculation at $300,000 average value with 0.1187 tax rate, that increases our revenue to $3.9 million. So we need to figure that in when we talk about the capital reserves that we want to keep. Because basically we're just at a risk for years.
And
There's more to come.
well, they're $300,000. You can't buy one of them houses for $300,000. They're not going to get a homestead exemption until the following year. So you're going to need to use a number of 500 minimum times 1,100. So that's going to change that number even higher.
It puts it close to 5.
There you go. We won't get that money till the following year.
You follow me on that, Lance?
So think about that when you guys are coming up with what you want to do.
Yeah, and that would be for 2025 budget.
Correct. All right, yeah, I'm gonna call the meeting to order in our executive session. Executive session, the board of directors will convene into executive session in accordance with the Texas Government Code pursuant to discussion regarding real property and pursuant to discussion, which is 551.072. And real, and 551.074 personnel matters, annual evaluation of operations manager's work performance. And I'm already 45 minutes late for my, oh well.
No,